In a cool village, everyone knew Kingsley, the big man with the roasted chicken stall by the market square. From sunrise until late evening, smoke rose from his large iron grill, carrying the sweet smell of spices and firewood far and wide. People traveled from neighboring villages just to taste his food, coming by roasted chicken, soft and tender, sweet for everyone, priced for everybody. Kingsley shouted, his deep voice rolling through the market like a drum. His chicken was different. It was always juicy, always fresh, and somehow it never ran out. Even when chicken became scarce and expensive in other places, Kingsley's price remained the same. His stall never went empty. People wondered how he did it. Some laughed, saying, maybe he planted money in the ground. Others whispered in low voices, this one is not ordinary. Perhaps he is using charms. But hunger and taste are stronger than suspicion. Men who never spent money on food bought from him. Women who had promised to cook at home changed their minds once they smelled Kingsley's chicken. Kingsley himself looked like a man who had everything. He was tall, muscular, always neat his apron, and when he laughed, his chest shook like a drum. Soon he even bought a big house, something few could afford. To outsiders, his life was perfect. But inside his house, behind closed doors, Kingsley carried a dark and painful secret. It began with a small pain in his right leg. He ignored it at first, tying a cloth around it and continuing to roast. But the pain grew stronger. Sometimes, as he stood by the grill, he pressed the leg hard, thinking nobody noticed. Flies gathered quickly whenever he adjusted his wrapper. Still, he smiled wide and kept serving. One evening, while the line of customers stretched long, Kingsley tried to stand to fetch more chicken. His leg refused to carry him. He sank heavily into his chair, sweat pouring down his face. Kingsley, are you well? A customer asked. I am fine, Kingsley replied quickly, forcing a smile. It is only the fire making me sweat. The woman nodded and returned to his plate. Nobody wanted to question the hand that made such delicious chicken. But each night, inside his room, Kingsley untied the cloth on his leg and faced the truth. Beneath the wrapper was a wound, wide and deep, wet and alive. The edges looked like cooked flesh, and the pain beat through it like a second heart. He held a calabash beneath it, collecting the strange things that oozed out. These he poured into the chicken feed, watching as his birds grew unnaturally fat. Then he rewrapped his leg, lay back on his mat, and whispered to himself, small pain for big money. Tomorrow the queue will be long. But how did such a wound come to him? To answer that, we must return to Lagos, many years before Aku village knew his name. Kingsley was once a thin young man, working at a spare parts shop in the Popo market. Every day, he carried heavy engines, fetched bolts, and swept oil from floor. His boss praised him often and sometimes raised his pay. But Kingsley's heart was never satisfied. He watched the rich men who came to the market in big jeeps. Their agbadas swept the ground. Their shoes shone like mirrors, and their perfumes filled the shop before they even spoke. They laughed loudly, as if money itself was their friend. Kingsley would stop working, cloth in hand, and whisper bitterly, why must I live like this? Why did my father leave me nothing? How long will I suffer while others swim in riches? Among all the wealthy men, one caught his eye the most. Chief George, a powerful car dealer. His arrival was like a festival. Convoy of cars, gold chain flashing, his laughter like music. People called him Odagu with respect. One hot afternoon, Kingsley could no longer hold back his desire. As Chief George finished his purchase and turned to leave, Kingsley stepped forward. Chief, please, he begged. Show me the way. I don't want to die poor. Chief stopped, studying him closely. It wasn't the first time someone had asked for wealth, but Kingsley's desperate eyes caught his attention. Finally, Chief smiled. You are bold, he said. Many ask, but few dare. If your heart is strong, come and see me tonight. We shall talk like men. That evening, Kingsley waited nervously at the edge of the market. A black Jeep pulled up. Chief George sat inside, face half-lit, smiling faintly. "Get in," he said. They drove in silence until they reached a small mud house. Inside sat a thin old man with a long white beard and eyes that shone like wet coal. "Welcome," the man said in a deep voice. "You have come to find the road to wealth." Kingsley swallowed hard. "Yes, Baba, I am ready." Without a word, Chief George rolled up his trouser leg. Kingsley gasped. On the man's calf was a wound, dark and deep, alive with white worms crawling in and out. Chief smiled calmly. "This is my bank. The more they grow, the more money flows to me. But they must feed on the living. When people eat food that carries them, wealth follows me like a shadow." Baba's eyes fixed on Kingsley. "If you want riches that never dry, you must accept a wound like this. Every night, you will harvest what it gives you and feed it to food. But if you fail, the blessing will turn to hunger and eat you first." Kingsley's heart raced. Every part of him screamed to run. But greed silenced the warning. "I accept," he said quickly. Baba nodded. He cut Kingsley's leg with sharp object, chanting strange words as smoke filled the room. Pain shot through Kingsley's body, followed by a crawling sensation, as if something alive had entered his flesh. Sweat ran down his back. Chief George smiled faintly. "From tonight, you carry your own source of wealth. Leave Lagos. Go somewhere no one knows you. Start a food business. You will never lack." Before dawn, Kingsley left Lagos. He traveled until he reached a cool village where strangers could start fresh. There he built his chicken pen, raised fat birds, and opened his famous stall. For years, his business flourished. People loved his food. Money filled his bags. But every night his wound pulsed, throbbed, and bred. The more he fed others, the more it grew. When Harmattan came, the pain spread up his thigh. He limped heavily, yet still roasted chicken. Villagers said, "Kingsley is blessed. His chicken will never finish." But inside his compound, the curse was slowly preparing its final payment. One stormy night, Kingsley lay sweating on his bed. Thunder groaned outside. Suddenly, a tearing pain ripped through his leg. The wound burst open, and countless white worms poured out. They crawled over his body, spilling across the floor, into his mouth, his eyes. He tried to scream, but more poured out until he was buried alive in them. By dawn, a cool village was silent. When neighbors finally broke his door, they froze in terror. The air was heavy with decay. Kingsley was gone, consumed by the very thing he had fed for wealth. His stall was abandoned. The chicken pen grew wild with weeds. Children were warned never to go near. Elders told his story by firelight, always ending with the same words. Greed is a fire that never satisfies. What you feed for wealth will one day feed on you. Kingsley thought he found an easy road to riches. But every coin he earned carried a hidden cost. He fed his chickens from a wound of darkness, and in the end, that same darkness devoured him. Moral of the story: wealth gained through evil will never last. It may fill your pocket for a time, but in the end, it empties your life.